We're like staged or something.
Yes, we're actually having a sit-down conversation here tonight. Welcome back, Stats Auto Garage. Normally we do a race recap, weekend recap, but unfortunately Mother Nature won this weekend with severe thunderstorms out in the Riverhead area, so we did not get to race this weekend. I had made some changes to the car that I was hoping to test out, but we're just going to have to wait a little while because the next 2 weekends are scheduled off for the Legends class. But go out, support Riverhead. They have some good shows coming on. Um, there was an announcement today that on July 27th, when we do return, that we're going to have a 112 lap crate mod feature honoring a fellow racer who had recently passed away. Um, I've never had the honor of meeting this gentleman, but from the people that I've listened to and talked about him, he was a great human being in general, not a racer, whatever. But I'll leave my comments because I don't have any because I've never met the man. But great job by Riverhead in honoring somebody and putting this together very quickly. So, what are we going to talk about? Over this past weekend, we had the NASCAR races at Chicago Street Course. This is not based on any facts, stats, or anything else besides my opinions as a longtime motorsports fan. Back when I started falling in love with racing, I grew up at Islip Speedway, Freeport, Riverhead back in the day. Drag racing I paid attention to, Formula One, IndyCar, sports cars. So I have a little bit of knowledge of all forms of motorsports. I'm the type of guy who can watch any type of car have a good race. So my displeasure about NASCAR right now. We'll talk about that since we just had this. Some people like it, some people didn't like it. Wet, dry, street course NASCAR event. I do not like any type of motorsports on a street course. I understand the reasoning behind having this type of race. I feel that it's a slap in the face to every track owner out there. Oval, multiple racetracks, road courses. Anybody has put the effort into promoting or buying or building a racetrack purposely to race cars on, and the major sporting promoters, motorsports, seem to find that they can't get good coverage out of all of these tracks. Now, I remember going back to Monaco back in the day, not going to, but watching Monaco Formula One races when the cars were so slow, difficult to drive, real men driving these cars. Yes, that was a spectacle. Indy cars on the streets of Detroit, Phoenix, St. Petersburg. They're taking $1 million operation per team and having these cars bounce around over sewer grates. Sorry. Don't like it. We have Sebring, we have Road America, we have VIR, we have Jersey Motorsports Park, we have Mid-Ohio, we have a ton of road course tracks that these cars, NASCAR, IMSA, whatever, should be promoting and helping these tracks prosper. Now, the wild weekend was Chicago. We had rain involved in it. Okay. As a race car guy, now I'm racing cars. I've drizzled a little bit and all that stuff. Asphalt racing should not be done in any wet condition. I understand the logistics of the race and the promoters and all that stuff, and weekends get washed out and stuff like that. If NASCAR would take a look at this schedule, they're shoving so much down our throat. Have it every other weekend. And this way, when you have a washed out weekend, you're not rushed to get the teams back to their homes, load up for the next race. You have time, once the weather clears out, whether it be Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever, you can still have the proper race coverage at any of these tracks. I am not a fan of driving race cars in the rain. I don't care if it's Formula One, the 24 hours of Daytona. The 24-hour races I can understand. But Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, trucks, I don't care. Running in the rain does not make a good race. I want to see competitors at the edge of control, what they're supposed to be doing on dry pavement, concrete, having a great race. That's my opinion on that debacle. I have a very hard time watching any type of race in the ring. Now, that goes back, same with Chicago. We're going to touch on Haley Deegan. Now, I do not follow her. I do not know her. I do not support her in any other way. This microscope that she's living under, because she's a female, moving her way up through NASCAR. Is she a talented race car driver? Yes. Is she a talented race car driver to inform a team, her crew, what needs to be done to the car to make it better? My opinion, no. We had Joey Logano going to the car this past weekend at the street course, and he evaluated the team. Now, I don't know any news inside. I don't understand the logistics of what went on between Joey Logano and AM Racing and all of that stuff. But all you did here was, I have no grip, no lateral grip. Yes, we made it better. We over here. I don't care about the finish. You could be running outside the top 30 and 30 guys pulling before you. You're going to have a top 5. Doesn't make it a great race. It doesn't showcase if Joey Logano, a 2-time Winston Cup, NASCAR Cup champion, into a inferior car, and yes, he got an 8th place finish, but he was nowhere to be seen. It wasn't like he was setting the world on fire in this car. So, is it the team? Partial. Is it the driver? Partial. So here's my point. You take an inexperienced driver who's not very good at mechanically understanding what change things on the car. By that I mean, how do I get more lateral grip in a car? That's for a team engineer, crew chief, that's for the team to understand that we have no lateral grip. I'm not going to go into specifics of what I would do or wouldn't do. Never drove the car, never will. That's on a different level. But if you take a good driver and put him in a well-prepared car, he's going to exceed expectations. If you take a decent driver into a team that I don't know their history, but I know AM Racing was never on the top tier level of anything that I know. I could be wrong. Correct me if I am. No problem here. This is just an open discussion. Like I said, I am not endorsing Haley Deegan. I don't feel sorry for her. She's got other things going on. She's making more money than most of us out of Riverhead. My point is, if you take a driver who can't or who doesn't physically know the car, she's never, as far as I know, she's never built a car. She's always had cars worked on by teams. So if she's never in the setup or understands or how, if we change a shock, we change this, we change that, how it affects the car, there is no way for her to talk to and tell the team what she needs in the car. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, in the comments below. Sim racing will only get you so far. We'll take a look at Kyle Busch. His decline over the last 5 to 8 years has been the lack of practice. It's the feel in a car. I'm in my third full season running legend cars, and I'm just now understanding and feeling the differences of everything that goes on. So when you take somebody like, we're picking on Haley Dean because she's the big news for this weekend. Any young driver working their way up. If I have a top 5 car and I have somebody that has got halfway decent talent, he's going to be quick. If I take a top 20 car and put a kid with talent in it, he might get me top 15. Speed-wise, racing-wise. I'm not talking about lucky breaks or, adverse, finishes or anything like that. The point is that Haley Deegan and a lot of these younger kids, and I'm going to quote Dale Earnhardt Sr., there's thousands of great race car drivers. You put them in good equipment, they're going to be fast. You put them in subpar equipment, they're going to only go as good as the car can go. How do you make it better? Is it the team with the money? Is it the team with the resources? The team with the engineering? Every car right now is under such in a small bubble for rules. Is it now just talent? Up for a discussion. Leave your comments below. I want to hear everybody's opinion. I'm not talking, we have our modifieds out of Riverhead. We have our legend guys. I know guys in beat up old equipment that can get into the top 10. I know guys with brand new equipment that can't break the top 15. Driver talent, car. Is it both? I speak about Haley Deegan because of the news this past weekend, but this is for every young kid out there. You have to be part of the team. You have to understand what you're driving. You have to understand that, okay, it's tight. Well, what do you mean? Okay, it's tight. Is it tight because the front wheels you put too much steering input? Are the tires not gripping? Are the brakes not locking up right? There's so many different aspects that, yes, a seasoned driver, a driver that builds and works on these cars, understands because he's gone through the trials and of tribulation of, yes, I put the spring on this car. How does it make it feel? Where do I do this? Where do I do that? It's all about experience and experimenting. Without practice, these young drivers can't get that experience. Kyle Busch is declined. My biggest opinion on that, lack of practice. He's a field guy. How can he go into a truck race and whoop everybody's ass, or be in the top 5 in speed in an Xfinity car that he's never sat in before, and he's elevated the team? because he knows what he wants in the car. So that goes back to, does Haley Deegan and these young guys know what they want in the car? They know they can only drive it one way. Well, Kyle Busch back in the day, he's won a lot of races where a car that wasn't handling properly because he changed his driving style. That's not translating into the last car before that. Who knows what went on with his whole head with JGR and KBM, and when you have to count millions of dollars every week, it's a different world. So that's my take. Is Haley Deegan get a bad shake out of all of this? Probably not. Until she speaks on the subject, it's all speculation. Maybe she just didn't like the crew. Maybe she didn't feel at home. Maybe she's not cut out for that next level. Does she need to go back into lower classes and a better team in lower classes? I'd love to see her run the car store. Get into a Junior Motorsports car. Get into one of these guys' backup cars and see what they can go. CMP Racing, there's a lot of good female racers out there and stuff like that. She's got to learn how to race. And unfortunately, when she's at teams that are like, we don't have the means of building another car every week, or when she was at Thor Motorsports, how come she was far behind and this and that? Only she knows. If the equipment's all the same, she's not there to send it that far deep. Run reckless. Maybe she cares about the equipment more than what she should. That's for her to understand, and for her to let us know what's going on. So, getting back to my topic of street courses. So, after the street race, Samantha and I, who's on the camera, we had a discussion about, let's build the ultimate racetrack for the Cup Series. We both looked at each other, and we looked at it, and we looked at the mile and a halves. No, they do not put on a great show. We look at Michigan, the old Auto Club Speedway. Yes, they were 5 wide, but by the end of a 20 lap, 30 lap, they got strung out and wasn't much racing, passing. Yes, with caution, they were all grouped together, and then they just spread out like every mile and a half, 2 mile track, and it just became a get to the end. Talladega and Daytona, I do not like restrictor plates. Sorry. I just do not like that. Give the guys power, give the guys less downforce, let the drivers drive. I'm not going to have a topic of those two racetracks.
every time those races come up, the commercials come up, I hate restrictor plate racing. I can't stand this type of racing. Oh, this is why I can't stand this racing.
I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas.
And I'm giving him a platform.
Yeah. But when the Craftsman Truck Series first came out, they were at local half-mile tracks. Come back full force, SRX came out, ran local tracks. Great crowds, everybody loved it. Why doesn't NASCAR let the Craftsman trucks go back to the small tracks? Promote the local tracks. Now, obviously, Riverhead's a quarter mile, not going to happen. But I'm sure there's a slew of half mile, 3/4 mile tracks that would love a truck series race.
Wasn't Stafford one of the big ones for the SRX series?
Absolutely.
And they
Stafford.
they sold out anytime one of those big events were there.
I understand, the track safety. Listen, I get all of that. Go back and watch the early days of the Craftsman trucks when they were at South Boston, when they were at the local tracks. The stands were full. Make it a festival. Saturday night, short track. Put the Craftsman trucks out there. I understand they want to put it with the TV packages and all that stuff. I get it. But that's not where good racing is. So getting back to our track. Sorry, got a little tangent there. Getting back to the ultimate racetrack for the Cup Series and Xfinity.
We were thinking, hey, what would be a good race for all three?
So we came up with this design, basic, oddly shaped oval. So we're not talking D shapes. We're not talking Richmond. We're not talking crazy D shapes like they have mile and a half. So name them all.
And we're not talking.
Half of them are closed up anyway, or down to one date waiting to close out because you're only grabbing 30,000 people.
No rounded rectangles like Indianapolis.
No. We're talking a shape like Darlington on a smaller scale. I would like 2 different radius turns, but different length straightaways.
You wanted 4 different radius turns is actually what it was.
So the closest thing that I've came up with is Worldwide Technology Raceway in St. Louis. It's a little over a mile. The Nashville Super Speedway, or the old Nashville Fairgrounds, the Milwaukee Mile. Some of these tracks that you need horsepower and brakes, which will burn up your tires, which will make them fall off, that everybody wants, and will produce, to me, a better show. Now, I understand that NASCAR is an entertainment value. They have to put on a show with the participants of the 36 to 39 drivers and teams and all that stuff. But the bottom line is you have to entertain people's attention span for 3 hours. There's something coming out from underneath. There you go. Right there.
Giant mosquito.
Yeah. So, don't worry. We're outside.
The door's open. We're still in the garage, just
Yes.
on the other side of the garage.
We're kind of set up. So, my question to anybody who watches this channel, anybody at the racetrack, come up with your version of the perfect track that you would go to once a year, buy your weekend pass, and watch racing all weekend at. That you say, wow, that was a great race.
Specifically NASCAR racing, because the whole discussion changes for short track racing.
Yes.
But for the top 3 divisions, or just the top 2, because the trucks tend to go off and do their own thing sometimes. Even if ARCA was there.
What would you... We have K&N, we have ARCA, we have the local divisions out in the area, whatever.
I thought K&N and ARCA was... I thought it was the ARCA... No, it's ARCA Menards.
ARCA Menards. K&N is a step below...
The baby ARCA?
Yeah. Where Haley Deegan came from.
Okay.
And a lot of race car drivers came through there. Unfortunately, they don't get the TV time and stuff like that. So, let's build the perfect race. What you think would produce the best racing. High banks, progressive banking, as flat as possible, high banks, put it together. Let's build a racetrack in our minds, and I'm not just saying, where NASCAR runs, right? I picked the St. Louis track, the Gateway, Milwaukee Mile, some of these off-brand older tracks. We can go Thompson. Would we like to see NASCAR at Thompson? Would the Truck Series put on a great show at Stafford? I'm talking about Wall Stadium, Evergreen, whatever racetrack that you've gone to for a local short track and say, wow, the trucks would be great here. Or on the bigger half-mile tracks, would the trucks really do good here? We're Northeast. I'm from the Northeast, obviously from Long Island. I grew up at a bull ring at a 5th mile, Islip Speedway. Even the quarter mile with the modifieds, I don't feel they put on the best show.
I'm being attacked by bugs.
Yes. Watching the modifieds at New Hampshire, what a phenomenal race.
That has to be one of my favorite.
Just the way those modified guys zigzag down the straightaways, slingshot. That's what it's about. When you have a line of about 5 or 6 guys in the front, and it's like a snake going down, trying to break the draft, that's racing.
It's like when it's modified meets Formula One or IndyCar, because that's that snake pattern that I always see watching like the Indy 500.
Indy 500, right? It's one of those topics like what type of track produces the best racing? Forget about the stages. Forget about anything else. Go. Oh, we got it. Do you want shorter races? Do you want twin races? Like, go up to New Hampshire, run 150 lapper, do another class in there, let the guys do what they have to do to the cars, stuff like that, come back and run another 150 in the afternoon.
Doing an invert of the top, like half the field or something.
You know what I'm saying? What would you want in a race weekend that you would travel to, go to in your backyard, wherever? I'd like to hear some of their opinions. Let's get off of what NASCAR has given us. Let's build our own track. And what type of track do you really think produces the best racing start to finish?
And not just something that causes crashes. Because that's why he doesn't like restrictor plate races.
When you can't have one car come out of line and pass another car, that's not racing.
No, that's parading.
It's pack racing, which I get. You had the 2-car tandems that we had for a little while. We had this, we had that. Top 10 finishes in NASCAR are not restrictor plate races. I'm just... we had a New Hampshire race years ago, unfortunately, after a tragedy, that they put restrictor plates on the Cup cars at New Hampshire. And what type of race did that?
It just sounds boring.
Well, one driver led every single lap and won.
I mean, I see that on short tracks, but I expect that on short tracks.
Yeah, that was like...
That sounds like, okay, we're not actually going to race. We're going to just, whatever.
One driver led every single lap of 300 laps and won the race.
But pit stops.
Everything through it. Again, it was after a tragedy at the racetrack, so they tried to do something.
But still, again, like...
What I want to know is what people's opinions, and if you had one weekend, and you're going to say, that's a race that I have to go to. Let's bring back the old days of the Bristol night race, where you had to wait years in order to get a ticket. That's what we want to see. NASCAR needs to have a track like that again.
And on that note, we'll leave you to think about that.
Yes. Comment. Leave your comments.
Share it. Get your friends
Share.
involved. Get your grandparents involved. Get your uncles,
Go.
your aunts, your neighbors.
Are the cars too fast? Are the cars too slow? What is your opinion on what NASCAR needs to do in order to improve the racing on TV? That's what I want. I want to say I can't miss this race. Because right now I can watch the highlights in 15 minutes and that's not good. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want... Okay, one last topic here. One last topic. Alright? This is a pet peeve of mine. I cannot stand races won and lost on pit road. We're out there racing cars. We are not in a pit stop competition. I am not watching TV
To watch drill teams, we know.
drill teams.
We will rant on that topic in another video.
That's the next video. My rant on pit stops.
Okay, say goodnight.
Good night.